Welcome to IMC Live, the interactive webinar series hosted by the Industrial Marketing Collective. We're here to help you connect with your peers, sharpen your skills, and drive results in your work. I'm Peyton Warren, Marketing Director at Gorilla 76, the Industrial Marketing Agency, and I am one of your IMC Live hosts. Product launches and product marketing is definitely the most requested topic that I get from this community. So when I saw Katie Parlin, when I saw her topic that she submitted for Industrial Marketing Summit, which I'll talk to you guys about more later, you know I will, I was like, I've got to have Katie on the show to talk more about this and just like break it apart. Like, how did she get from no framework to framework that was being applied across a global company? And that's really what I want to talk with her about today. But before we get into that, I did mention that Katie's going to be one of our speakers at the Industrial Marketing Summit. And we are only 26 days away from the event. And if you do not have it on your calendar yet, if you are not planning to go to Austin, Texas on March 3rd through 5th, what are you doing? We will miss you. You will have FOMO for not being at this event. It is a marketing conference specifically for marketers at industrial and manufacturing companies. If you've ever felt like marketing conferences just don't reflect the reality of your job, the technical products, the complex products and sales processes, the lean teams that you're working on, long sales cycles, just know this one is completely different. We have a massive lineup of speakers that are mostly in-house marketers just like you. And I would love for you to hear from them directly. The topics are all practical, they're grounded, and it's heavy on real world strategy. So you'll be able to fill your notebook, take it all back, and put it to use right away. And it's hosted by Gorilla 76 and True Marketing. And we have been working in this space collectively, I think, for almost, at this point, I think both of our agencies, if we add them together, almost 30 years. And it really just brings together just such a powerful community of marketers who speak the same language and are willing to share with each other, just like this space. So if it sounds like something you want to be at, which I hope it does, check out industrialmarketingsummit.com and get your ticket. There is a code for, it's the final discount code that I've got available, and it's just all caps, Gorilla 76, and that'll get you $100 off each purchase. So if you're buying multiple tickets, go ahead and stack them. So you get the discount as far as it can. But enough with that. Let's get into the meat of the topic today. Katie, thank you so much for being willing to join us. I know Q1 is already off to a raucous start for you at Flow International, or should I say Flow Waterjet? We'll talk more about that.
Both apply. Yep.
Yeah. But Katie, can you please introduce yourself and just tell folks who you are and a little bit about your story?
Sure thing. But first, I want to address Industrial Marketing Summit because I can attest you want to be here in Austin in March. I'm local to Austin, so I'm in Austin right now. And although my background is blurry, you can see how bright it is. The sun is out, it's shining, and the weather's only going to get better within the next couple of weeks. So you should definitely come. But anyways, so I'm Katie Parlin. I lead the marketing at Flow International, Flow Waterjet, Flow Corp, FlowJet. It's a little bit of a brand nightmare, and I'll go into that in a little bit. But I lead the marketing at Flow. We are a global machine tool manufacturer based just south of Seattle. I have actually spent my career growing up at Flow. I started at Flow back in 2010 as the graphic designer in the marketing department. I, over time, moved into more of the marketing side of the business, not just the creative side. So started to dig into campaign management, email marketing, web, content, and really liked the marketing side of things. So I decided that was what I was going to do. I was going to kind of put the creative side aside and really focus on marketing. And so I started to do that at Flow. And then just as things were getting going, my career took a little bit of a turn and I stepped away from Flow. I gained some experience in other areas at other companies and stepped away for about 5 years. And then in 2021, I boomeranged back to Flow. And, that was the time when a lot of people were boomeranging. But I came back and came back in the role of senior marketing director, which is the role I'm in today. My team is responsible for brand awareness, lead generation, sales enablement, product marketing, anything that falls under marketing, that my team touches it. And in practice, and what's relevant to this conversation is, excuse me, is that what that means is that I spend a lot of time thinking about how we bring new products to market in a way that is structured, repeatable, and aligned across the business. So Flow, a little bit more about Flow. We've been around for over 50 years. We've been the world leader in water jet cutting technology. So what that is we build systems that use ultra high pressure water to cut a variety of different materials like stone, metal, composites, foam, rubber, glass. And our systems are used in a variety of different industries: aerospace, automotive, general manufacturing, fabrication, architecture. So an example is your kitchen countertops, the sink cutout might be cut out using one of our pieces of water jet technology. Or there's a little piece of metal that's in your toaster that was maybe cut out by a water jet. So again, 50 years doing this, a long time. Most recently, in 2025, we expanded beyond water jet. So a big deal for us. We spent 5 decades doing one thing and one thing only. And then last year, we started our expansion into laser cutting technology and press brakes. So still within the machine tool realm, but now we're offering manufacturers more cutting and more forming capabilities that they can use across their shop floor. And we are doing all of this on a global scale. We have offices in North America, in LATAM, EMEA, and APAC. So the perspective I'm bringing to you today is really formed by that journey, kind of growing with one company, leaving for a little bit, coming back, seeing the evolution, and now leading product launches in a global industrial environment.
So I love folks who have diverse backgrounds, like just that you've worked in different industries or you've worked at different companies. I think there's something incredibly valuable about being with a company a long time, because so much of like internal like efficacy is like relationship building and like knowing who to go to and things like that. But I feel like you kind of have the best of both worlds. What do you feel like, while you were getting off track, I guess, a little bit, what do you think about what was the most valuable thing or perspective you gained while being away?
While being away. So when I stepped away, I went and worked for a creative and marketing agency. So I was an account executive. So I didn't own the numbers when I was at an agency, and I didn't love that. I loved owning a piece of the marketing program, but as an account executive, I felt like I was just giving advice, and whether or not my client took my advice is like, I don't know. Like, you're at the end of it. I don't exactly know what you're going to do, and I don't have, I didn't have say over it. It didn't feel like. And then I also, after the agency, I went and worked for a nonprofit that was near and dear to my heart. I'm a military spouse, so I went and worked for a a nonprofit that supports military families. And I thought combining that with marketing was going to be just the ultimate career move. But I learned I didn't really love nonprofit marketing. It wasn't what my experience was built on. And it's fundamentally different than B2B marketing. And I struggled with it, honestly. And so when Flo asked me to come back, I was like, okay, yeah, this is my chance to go back and own numbers, own a program, and really be able to dig in the way I wanted to.
Yeah, like you felt more comfortable owning those numbers even, and like more
Mm-hmm.
confident just being like, I want to, like, this is the path for me. This is the growth. That's exciting.
Yeah. It was highly
That's cool.
personal, but yeah, that's what it was for me. It was a comfort level because I remembered like the people that I worked with and then coming back, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Like this company is amazing. Plus the technology, the water jet technology, I just thought was really interesting and I would light up every time I talked about it. So
Yeah, super cool. And so you said that you've got a team
mhm.
too. Can you tell us a little bit more about just like your team setup and who all you have in-house and like what you guys do uh, in-house, and then also if you've got any partners that you guys work with, if it's
Sure.
relevant to the product marketing stuff.
Yeah, sure. So first off, I realize I'm very fortunate in saying that I do actually have a team because I know a lot of industrial marketers don't have a team. They're solo marketers. So I fully realize that and I'm grateful. Hashtag blessed, right? It's not a huge team, but so on my team, I've got a marketing manager, and she is what holds the marketing glue together. She's the one that's managing our day to day. She's managing our campaigns. She knows all of our technology inside and out. If she were not around, our marketing program would just fall apart. Um, I also have a sales and marketing coordinator, and this is a little bit of a hybrid role, kind of a weird role, and it's morphed over the years, but um, this person manages our incoming leads and inquiries, works a lot in CRM, and she manages our social media and creates a lot of content for us. So, a very interesting role. And then I also have a trade show manager. We exhibit at 6 to 9 trade shows in North America um, on a yearly basis. And we show up pretty big to those trade shows. We're bringing a live water jet system to every trade show we go to. So 30 by 30 booths up to 50 by 100 booths. So large scale, we need someone to actively manage that and have that be their full-time role. Beyond that, I've got marketers or people who help with marketing functions globally. So at least one in each region of the globe, EMEA, LATAM, APAC. Marketing may not be their full-time function, um, or it may be, it depends on where, but it's marketing help throughout the globe. Um, those are the in-house positions. And then for what we don't hire in-house, we contract out. We have a marketing and creative agency that we work with, and they do a lot of our creative work. It's funny because when I started at Flow in 2010, I was the graphic designer doing the creative work, but now we outsource that. Every once in a while, I have to stop myself from doing it. Just opening up Photoshop or Illustrator and doing something because I can. But we have an agency that we use for that. And they're super awesome. We've been using them for many, many years. And then we work with a search engine marketing agency. We don't do that in-house. And then we also work with a web development company because our website is translated into 14 different languages. So we definitely need someone who's got the expertise in that back end, that content management system. I think that covers it.
That's more than I thought.
It sounds like a lot, but I would say the core is it's 4 of us in-house that are the true core of the marketing team. And then it's onesie twosies here and an agency on the side.
cool. That's really cool. So, let's get into the product launching and everything. That's obviously you guys moving from water jet into laser and like different cutting methods. Like
Yeah.
that's massive, right? That's like a whole different like technology that you're having to learn. And yes, okay, cutting, like, is it fair to say cutting is cutting? Probably as someone who works at a water jet and laser, like you're saying, no, there's like
No.
differences. Yeah.
Right.
But paint us a picture of what product launches used to look like at Flow.
Yeah.
What was it like before this framework existed?
Before this framework existed, and let me say, I didn't set out to create a framework. That was not my intent. I originally set out to build understanding of marketing's role within product development and product launches within the organization, because the product development process was completely marketing's role in the product development process was completely misunderstood and inaccurate and grossly oversimplified by the rest of the organization. And so what it looked like, so Flow launches products every year, multiple products every year. And I'm not talking like product upgrades or feature upgrades, like full on products. So a big deal. The product development cycle can last anywhere from 6 months to multiple years, depending on the product. So it can take a long time. But our organization has a very structured, rigorous product development process. We use a stage gate process. I'm sure a lot of other companies or people on this call might be familiar with that process, but it's a very checkpointed process where you've got a gate at these different phases. And if you don't meet the requirements of each gate, you don't pass through to the next gate. And involved in this process are it's the product team, it's engineers, it's finance, it's supply chain, logistics. You'll notice I didn't say marketing, because what would happen at our company is that the last stage of stage gate is launch. It's commercialization of the product. And what would happen is about 2 weeks to a month prior to launch, that's when marketing would enter the conversation. That's when marketing was asked to enter the conversation. And that's when the team, the project management team, would say, hey, marketing, we're ready to launch this product. We're about 2 weeks out. We need a brochure. And that's where I'd be like, wait, what? A brochure? 2 weeks? That can happen, sure. But I'm sure that's not all you need, right? We're launching a completely new product. There's more to it than that. And so this was going on for a couple of years, and I became increasingly more frustrated with the process. And what was happening is that, like, we could do it, we could build a brochure, no problem, but I knew more needed to happen. But what this was causing was major inefficiencies in launching a product. We would always be running around, putting out fires, trying to get the product to market. And so I finally had enough and said, okay, we need to fix this. This can be so much easier than it is. So I set out to fix it.
Yeah.
I can go into that too.
Yeah. I mean, like it's like, how can you continue just to like go to work every single day thinking I'm done, or like I'm going to just live with this.
Right.
Like,
And I did.
I
Like,
can't.
I mean, marketers, I think we all feel that we're doers, right? A lot of what we do, it's very task oriented. And so we just do it, we get it done. But when you're talking about launching something so big for your organization, and there's so much more that marketing can contribute, it finally just hit me. Like there's a better way.
Yeah, it's like people undervaluing like everything that marketing can do,
Mhm.
and what you guys can bring to the table. And they just don't even realize how much opportunity they're letting just fall flat.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
It almost feels like you have to market marketing to your own company.
I did in the process of building this framework that it didn't set out to build. I did have that realization, like once the framework was built, it was this awesome product, I'll call it. And I was like, I have to make other people in this organization understand how this works, how this framework is intended to work so they could get on board with it. Marketing the framework. That's exactly what I ended up doing.
So I want to bring Brittany in, and I know we're going to get to answering some of Brittany's questions, but like Brittany, you mentioned already, like I think I've seen it come up in the chat. Maybe it was from me or from somebody else, but hashtag relatable has come up a few times. And Brittany, you're also at a global company. You're the international marketing manager, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So this
Yeah.
is like so relatable. We actually had a meeting last year where we talked about product launches. And one of the things that we mentioned is marketing is brought in late, right? So we have the same thing, stage gate, that we call MR, market review, and DR. So you have MR, you have DR for product launch, and we have gates at each stage. And when it comes to market review, like that market research, we're not involved. And it's like you were saying, Katie, we're right at the very end. And it's interesting that you're talking about this today because I'm actually have a call tomorrow with one of my product managers because we have had some past products that we started talking about, and now it's like, shut that down, didn't work out. And so we've been putting messaging out to the market, and we have to like, retract back. And there's, talks of, hey, if we have a new product, what are we going to do? And once again, it's coming up, well, let's start talking about, products. But my thought is we have these gates for a reason. So we need to be more careful because past history has shown us, if we put something out there, what if something happens in one of those gates that, we can't launch the product or something happens. So I wanted to know from your side, when do you typically start that messaging to the market? Because there are some thoughts that in some instances, especially with machinery getting specifications in, you kind of got to start a little bit before it launches. But I want to be cautious about starting too early.
Yeah. I used to be really afraid of launching a product and putting things out there and then having it change. Because once something's on a website, it's out there for the world to see. Over time, I've come to realize that iteration is not bad. Especially in our line of work. We're not Apple, right? We're not, the world isn't watching what we're doing. So if we do have to iterate a little bit, I think it's okay and can go unnoticed as long as you're smart about it. But the other thing I will say too is that the stage gate process and having those checks and balances, and you need to do this before you get to the next gate. What I learned in my company is that what was outlined for marketing's roles and responsibilities within the stage gate was wrong. Like even within the documented process we had, it had marketing's role reduced to the bare minimum. So that's where I started. And this kind of leads into like, well, where do you start with the messaging and da da da. So what I did, I'm gonna dive into the phases. Is that cool, Peyton?
Dive,
Okay.
Katie, dive.
Okay. Okay. So the framework. Actually, I'm going to back up. So what happened when I decided that I wanted to like fix this problem? Our organization was going through a little bit of a change where in our project management office, which we had just enacted a project management office. And so the folks in the project management office were going through the stage gate process and going through the checks and balances, like what goes in every stage. So I was like, this is my opportunity to sit down with the project managers and reevaluate what they had documented for marketing's role within the product development process. So I sat down with the project managers and said, okay, this is marketing has this next to their name and this and this. This is all wrong. Here's what actually goes into a product launch from the marketing side of things. And so I basically made a list of all the things that marketing does for a product launch. And what I realized was that list was just completely overwhelming to a non-marketer, and it just looked like a bunch of tasks. So I tried to organize it in a way that might be understandable for anyone. And what I saw very clearly was, and I wasn't creating this process out of nowhere. This is just the product marketing launch process that was inherent to the marketing team. Like we did it over and over again. We just hadn't documented it in any way. So that's essentially what I was doing, was documenting our marketing product launch process. And so I divided it up into 3 different phases because that's how ours works. And I think it would work for anyone, any company, any product launch, even a campaign, really. But it's 3 phases. The first phase is build, the second is promote, and the third is grow. So in the build phase, this is where the marketing team is laying the foundation to lead up to the actual launch or go live date. You're hopefully coming into the build phase with an understanding of why you are developing the product you're developing. Like, what's the business case for it? Like, I'm assuming you already know that at this point when you're building the assets for the launch. You're creating the messaging and the positioning, creating the content. You are getting videos and photography done, and you're naming the product, you're branding the product, you're going through all of the things, like thinking about what your launch looks like. What are you going to do on launch day, and making sure you have all of the assets to be ready to launch. You're creating the brochure. We're not going to get out of that. There's going to be a brochure. So you're building the assets, laying the foundation. And this is the part of marketing that most people's idea of marketing starts and ends in the build phase. But realistically, there's more to marketing than building the assets. And so the next phase is promote. And this is where you go to market with your product. You launch your product in the promote phase. This is everything you've been doing in the build phase is leading up to your promotion. And for us, our promote phase looked a little bit like a soft launch, but not. We would target a highly targeted audience once we launched a product. We wouldn't start big, we would start small. So we'd start with key accounts, really leaning on the sales team to use their connections, who they thought might be good prospects for this new product, instead of shooting at anyone and everyone. We're really leaning into the network and the relationships that we've built. And so you do that on the smaller scale, but you're launching. So it's going live on your website. You're talking to trade publications or media about your new product. You're putting it out on social media, press release, all of that good stuff. That's happening. You're actually launching. And then you do that for a little bit. You promote it. You weave it into your marketing program. And then comes the grow phase. And the grow phase it's where you've got this validated solution and you're taking it to the next level. You're moving beyond your close customers, and you are opening it up to a broader audience, a new audience that you haven't tapped into yet. And at this point, you're hopefully able to point back to first adopters of that product, and you're writing case studies about them, customer stories, and you're pointing to real world, real life success stories. In the grow phase, a lot of the times is where marketing teams, or just before the grow phase, is where a lot of marketing teams tend to stop. Like,
That's
they
what I
build
was
the
about to
asset.
say, Katie. I was like, it's like just thinking about, okay, now you have your early adopters and like not capitalizing on that. Like, oh gosh, like the
Right.
product launch isn't over. I love this.
It's not. Right. It moves into a different phase because you've built all the things, you've launched, then you can't just forget about it. Like, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you expand your audience and get that new business. It's in the growth phase. And so the growth phase is really there to serve as a reminder that you can't just set it and forget it. You can't give up. You have to constantly be nurturing that new product you have and continue to shout out to the world that you have this product.
After launch, you still have to get to the moon.
You do, yeah. Yep. Yeah, and even like a year later, 2 years later, and I've heard this before on IMC Live, but just because you say something 8 to 10 times doesn't mean your audience has heard it 8 to 10 times. They've probably heard it once or twice. So what feels like you repeating yourself over and over and over again, someone else is hearing it for the first time. So you have to keep putting the message out there about your new product. And that's the grow phase. And it seems like overkill.
I think that's really, really awesome. Stu, I would love to pull Stu up for a second, because what my question is, okay, so now you went from marketing having a checklist basically that was completely inaccurate and just like maybe not inaccurate, still need to make the brochure, but like it was not at all strategic or like as comprehensive as what it should have been. And so you went through and you reviewed that with the team and you basically established new points where marketing is getting inserted into the conversation. Do you feel like, one of Stu's points was, you don't want marketing to look just like it's a check in the box activity. Stu, you go ahead and you can kind of clarify your point a little bit more, but I guess my question is, you almost like changed the check boxes. Are folks still seeing you guys as like check boxes, or do you feel like you're being seen as more strategic? And Stu, feel free to clarify if I'm not seeing that question the same way.
Yeah, well, first off, Katie, I'm really relating to a lot of this. I've been on a very similar journey as you. And yeah, specifically talking about StageGate, no doubt, businesses can benefit from it, providing significantly more structure around new product development. But I think it falls short from a product launch standpoint. And, I called it a check the box exercise. It's sell sheet, sales deck, website, put it on social media post. All right, call it a day. As opposed to, okay, to your exactly like you're talking about, getting really sharp positioning, targeting, messaging, ultimately enabling the sales team to understand the product, how to sell it, and then of course having that sustained momentum post-launch over a course of time. So that's been a lot of conversation and convincing that I've had to do within my company.
Yeah, I think one of the things that helped us with that, from the really digging into the positioning, the messaging, which is not really a checkbox. Like, yeah, you have to do it, but it's more work than that. Having the framework documented, it sounds silly, but having the framework documented really helped with that, because one of the pieces in the framework in the build phase is creating that positioning and that messaging. And marketing can't do that in a bubble. So it's in the framework, it's documented. So when it comes time to do that, that's when marketing stands up, takes the lead role in playing interviewer, playing naive, and really leading the team to have them teach you about the product so that you can then in turn turn it into marketing speak, not marketing speak, but go from engineering to audience, something that a message that the audience would resonate with.
Those digestible bites.
Yeah. And it sounds crazy to say, but like having that framework, because the whole stage gate process is a checklist, really, for all teams included. But it's within those tasks. Like, how do you develop those tasks? How do you go about carrying out those tasks that leads to it being seen as a check in the box or not? And I think the more marketing can come out from behind the scenes and working on our own to get things done and working collaboratively, that's when others in the organization, the cross-functional teams can see the true value that marketing brings to a product launch or product development.
I'd imagine your leadership team, obviously you've said at the beginning of this call that you really enjoy the people at Lowe. And I'd imagine that you've had a supportive leadership team. Can you just talk a little bit about like their buy-in and if there was any like point where you had to kind of convince them, or if this was like a welcome injection from our
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think the leadership team necessarily knew that marketing was being slighted. Like it wasn't intentional. I think it was just a process that had been built over decades and just hadn't changed in a long time. And once I started looking at the development process and marketing's role in it and outlining what needed to be changed, everyone was so receptive to it. They didn't see it as marketing trying to elevate the role in the process or take control or be more work than they needed to be. But everyone really saw it as a way to openly communicate what's going on and how marketing fits in. And I think a lot of people were really shocked at how much goes into a product launch from the marketing side. And they really welcomed being in on the process. It gave them a much clearer understanding of everything that marketing needed to do and needed to be involved in. They welcomed it with open arms, and we have become a true, folded into the process.
What is maybe this is a little bit of a tangent, but my mind went here. What does the approval process look like for you guys when it comes to these messaging or, those initial assets? How do you get to the point where you're like, okay, yes, we've created the resource. Now I'm going to use this as my North Star and I'm going to build the campaigns.
Yeah, that can be the hardest part sometimes because everyone's attention is pulled in so many different directions. But if we're talking about something, the foundation is the messaging, right? It's at its most basic level, what are we trying to say about the product? And then there's the specifications too. But we work very collaboratively. It's the marketing team, the engineers. We don't have a product team, which is crazy, but it's the marketing team, it's the engineers and the sales team. Really, we all work very closely together on understanding the product. And then, like I said earlier, marketing kind of takes everything that engineering is saying and translates it into something that other people can understand. And then we just kind of go back and forth, and I make sure that we're not saying anything that we're not supposed to be saying, and that technically it's correct. So it's not a dictatorship, it's not marketing saying, well, this is what it is. It's a truly collaborative process, approval process. And then I try again to put documents together to say, okay, this is what we agreed on. This is the short form messaging. This is the mid form messaging. This is the long form messaging. Refer back to this product marketing reference guide that we put together based on everything we've talked about. This is our North Star. And then to Brittany's point, we get a month down the road. I'm like, oh, shoot, this has changed. We need to go back and we need to make sure that everyone knows this has changed, which is not fun, but it happens. But yeah, it's collaborative. And then, man, a PDF does wonders.
Yeah. Well, folks, Karen just dropped in the chat how much she's already taken notes on this, and she'll see you at IMS. But
oh, awesome!
Before we kind of wrap up today, I know that you said one of the benefits of this formalizing this process has been that you guys are a global company, and now this is not something that just Katie does. This is something that anyone can pick up. and apply. So,
Mhm.
you know, different markets, different audiences, different countries, different regions. Can you speak a little bit to like just like the rollouts and things
Mhm.
like that, and how this applies there?
Yeah, that it's still relatively new for us. We're testing it now. So last year we in North America we launched our lasers and press brakes and a completely new water jet. It was a big year. This year in 2026, we are rolling those out in Europe. And so I'm actually just starting with my European team on the build, promote, grow framework. They're in the middle of the build portion of it where they're taking, we've already done a lot of that. We've built a lot of the assets needed, but now they're taking those English assets and translating them into the languages that we use in Europe. And they're building their own assets that are going to be relevant for their region. And then once they've got that done, we're targeting a May, June launch date for those products. And that's when their promote phase will begin. So they're going to follow the same sequence just a year later and adapted to their region. So the framework holds true. It just becomes malleable based on circumstances, region, timing, that sort of thing. So I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably one of the most exciting pieces, right? It's like almost like your legacy expanding. Oh,
And you guys all get to watch it in real time, maybe.
Yeah, well, this is really, really incredible. Like I said at the very beginning of my intro, this product launches, product marketing is the most requested topic that I get. And so I just so appreciate you taking some time out of your very busy Q1 to you guys already got one trade show out of the way, you know, just to come on the show and share what's working for you at Flow and you know, just again, folks, like if you're into this conversation, Katie's going to be a speaker at the summit, and we can't wait to have her. She's going to dive in even deeper to like the framework and how you would apply it. But Katie, yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to tell us about your session, or anything else you want to share as we wrap up?
Well, the session, like Peyton said, I'm going to dive deeper into the three different phases of the framework. So it's going to be a bit more practical than just this is the background story. This is the how I built this, right? That's what you said, Peyton. So the IMS session is going to be a little more practical. You're probably going to walk away with hopefully some pages full of notes about how you can actually go and do this in your real life. So come on to Austin.
Well, Katie, if folks want to keep up with you between now and then, what's the best place for them to follow along?
Oh man, LinkedIn, right? Does anyone say anything else?
You never know. Some people might. But yeah, no, that's awesome. We'll see you on LinkedIn. It's Katie Parlin. Go check her out, give her a follow. And thanks again. And then we'll see you in Austin in just a few short weeks. For everyone that came today, thank you so much. Our next IMC Live is going to be on February 19th. We'll unveil that topic very soon, but between now and then, if you want to keep the conversation going and tap into a Starbucks gift card, Starbucks early, you can do that for the Industrial Marketing Collective. Just if you don't have access to it yet, go to industrialmarketingcollective.com. Request access to that community. It's free, and we're having good conversations there. For the folks in the room, thank you so much for coming. We loved seeing you today, and we'll see you next time. And then for the folks listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk with you soon. All right, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.